lightsabers. They're the number one thing that separates Star Wars from all other science fiction. They're the highlights of every Star Wars movie, and today we're going to rank every single live-action lightsaber fight scene. It should be fun, and I've got some hot takes. We're only doing the live-action scenes because if we also did the animated ones, then we would be here until January. Not to say that those scenes aren't sick or anything, or that they didn't take a great deal of effort to create, but live action is live action, you know what I'm saying? It's how it all got started. Now before we get started, there are a lot of lightsaber fights. So to narrow it down a little bit, we will be looking at scenes that feature lightsaber versus lightsaber or other melee weapons in scenes with significant narrative impact. For example, even though Luke's hallway scene is really sick, it was against a bunch of droids, so it won't be included in this video except to include it for the sake of telling you that it won't be included. We're also watching them in chronological order. And there's a lot. So let's get going. And don't worry, I will not be on screen the entire time. Starting off strong here, this fight introduced some new stuff to us, like cheating, in the form of disabling your opponent's lightsaber via a special metal helmet thing. Which makes sense because the stranger is fighting a 1v7, so he has to even the odds somehow. I give it a B. If you ask me, these were the best fights that Disney has come up with. The fight choreography is fast-paced, reminiscent of the prequel fights. And it has one of the coolest moves done right here. Hard to believe Jackie was just a Padawan. This scene is a solid A. Everyone loves a Wookiee. The only way to one-up a Wookiee is to give that Wookiee a lightsaber. I like this fight because it shows the diversity in fighting styles. The big, strong Wookiee would have a slower, more powerful style, while Sol has a quicker, more agile kind of style. It's a solid B. This fight has everything that a cool lightsaber fight should have. Close quarters with lots of sparks flying around, slow motion, cool force moves. My only issue is that I refuse to believe that the stranger can see well through that helmet. But I guess that's sort of the point. It's a solid A. You know what's funny here is that Maul didn't know who this kid was at the time. As far as we know, his intent was to just plow this random kid.
Hey, phrasing!
It's also the first recorded lightsaber duel in about 100 years, which is pretty significant historically. I'll give it a B. This is one of the best fight scenes. An awesome introduction, fast-paced fight choreography, including a strategically placed pimp slap, John Williams, a tragic come-from-behind victory, or I guess from below. And the stakes are some of the highest in the entire franchise because this duel will determine the fate of young Anakin. It's easily our first S-tier fight. I mean, it's alright. It definitely picks up a bit when Anakin starts dual wielding, which is the first time that's been done. But it's not my favorite. It's a C. It starts out with a 4-stick measuring contest, which is cool, I guess. But imagine this. Up until this point, all you have seen of Yoda is an old guy who could barely walk and whose only opponent has been R2-D2 after taking a flashlight from him. And then you see him do this. That must have been pretty hype at the time. And George Lucas was being tricky here, because before this you were thinking, that's it? That's the grand finale fight? No. This is. I couldn't have appreciated it at the time. I was 7 when this movie came out. I just wish the fight was a little bit longer. But I can only imagine it was a CGI nightmare at the time. It's a solid A. Revenge of the Sith is home to peak lightsaber fights if you ask me. And compared to the others in this movie, this one definitely ranks a bit lower. But there's still a good amount of foreshadowing in it, which is cool, but I'm gonna give it a B.
Hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there.
This fight also introduced us to a new form of cheating called having 4 arms. But 4 arms isn't enough to defeat the defensive powerhouse that is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Even though he made the foolish mistake of trying to kick a metal leg with his not metal leg. He also finds himself hanging on another ledge yet again, but he's like, been there, done that, hold my beer, and wins the fight regardless. I'm gonna give it an A for the memes.
It's treason, then.
I know we give these guys a bad rap for taking 10 years to even think about attacking, but put yourself in their shoes for a second. You just witnessed a guy who you thought of as an old politician dude pull a lightsaber out of his ass, suddenly do a corkscrew through the air while doing some kind of terrifying force scream thing. You might need a second to collect yourself. Or George Lucas just needed to kill those guys off so Samuel L. Jackson could have his fight scene. We may never know. Anyways, it's a solid fight scene filled with all kinds of funny faces. But I'm gonna give it a B. My favorite thing about this scene is that it shows us just what kind of pants and shoes Palpatine wears underneath his robes. My least favorite thing about this scene is this line.
At an end, your rule is...
I don't know if I'm just audibly dyslexic or what, but I had no idea what Yoda was saying here until I wrote it down and looked at it like it was one of those New York Times word games. But it's still one of the best fight scenes ever. It's like the upgraded Yoda versus Dooku fight. So it gets an A. Do I have to explain it? Can't we just watch it for a bit and enjoy?
The goat! The goat!
I'm not sure you could call this a fight, really. More like a lion plays with his food while the food with severe PTSD and depression tries to defend itself. So I'm gonna give it a D. Nothing is going to get an F. I feel like that's disrespectful to the people who put in the effort to make these scenes. The best thing about this scene is that it really shows how much of a beast Darth Vader is. He doesn't even need a lightsaber to beat an Inquisitor, which is the ultimate way to assert dominance over them. I'll give it a B.
Then you will die.
This might be where things get a little spicy because I love this scene. I made a whole video about it that you should go watch, but the Spark Notes is that the whole series is about Obi-Wan overcoming depression and PTSD. He does this by essentially finding a new purpose, and ultimately by getting closure from Anakin, Ever since Mustafar, Kenobi blamed himself for the creation of Darth Vader. He failed Anakin.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Anakin. For all of it.
But Vader, maybe intentionally, gives him that closure by saying,
I am not your failure, Obi-Wan. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
"You didn't fail me. I chose to become this." And I think it's a touching moment.
The same way.
I know that there's those people that say, but the show breaks canon. Buddy, relax, it doesn't, and even if it did, big deal. Star Wars isn't real. Their stories meant to inspire and entertain. Arguing over what made-up thing is the real made-up thing is how religious wars start. I'm giving this an S, and this is a hill I'll die on. Shout out to this scene for being the first lightsaber fight ever in the history of the big screen. At the time, this was way ahead of its time. Unfortunately now, it's overshadowed by the advancements of CGI. But I'm still going to give it the respect it deserves by putting it in the B tier.
You have learned much, young one.
I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of this one. All the fighting leading up to the big moment is kinda boring. But I fully understand that's because I'm biased towards the newer stuff. That's the generation of Star Wars that I grew up with, and it's the Star Wars that got me hooked on the galaxy far, far away. But I'm not going to sit here and just totally yuck someone else's yum. With that being said, watch as I put this in the C tier. I don't know what happened between 1980 and 1983, but whatever it was, there was a massive improvement in the fight scenes. This is my favorite in the original trilogy, and I'm going to put it in the A tier. Shout out to the high ground. Snore. It was a cool enough fight considering the circumstances. I'm not a huge fan of anything involving the Darksaber personally. The whole idea of a Mandalorian becoming a Jedi seems like the biggest oxymoron that a nerd can come up with. But it's whatever. C tier. Oh no, the Darksaber broke. What a shame. Now what will the Mandalorians fight with themselves over? I'm sure they'll find something. C. Wait. It's back? I don't understand the timeline with The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and all that jazz. C. This fight was pretty good. Sabine getting the business at the end was kind of a load of barnacles because, like, we know she's not gonna die. But I understand why they made the decision that they did. Might have been interesting if she did die though. But I'll give it a B. I'd be lying to you if I said I remember what they're fighting over in this scene other than she's a good guy and he's a bad guy. So I can only rank it from the fight itself, which I actually thought was pretty good. It's a good fight for the sake of introducing a new mysterious villain. B. Okay, yeah, sure. That happened. Do something!
You lack conviction.
The best lightsaber fight scene in the show, yet it was all in her head. It was really nice seeing Hayden back. His Canadian accent did slip through a bit, but that doesn't matter. I just like that I noticed it. B.
Trying to die.
To me, this kind of felt like a filler fight with no real stakes. I'm afraid I'm coming off as a Balin Skull hater, which is not the case. I just find him to be a way more interesting character than a fighter. Sorry. This felt like an actual fast-paced, high-stakes fight scene. And I was more into it than all the previous fights in this show. So that gets it a B. The year is 2015. You haven't seen a lightsaber fight on the big screen since 2005, until you see this. I have a pretty good understanding of how most people felt about these movies, but I liked them. But a stormtrooper with a shock baton is no replacement for a Count Dooku or a General Grievous. So I'm going to give it a C. I think the biggest criticism this scene takes is that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for Kylo to lose to Rey when he has actually received some kind of combat training. And yeah, that's valid, but for the most part, Kylo is winning these fights, despite willingly agitating a bowcaster shot that he took right to the ribs. Until this moment, when Rey starts tapping into the Force or some shit that Kylo wasn't expecting, and it totally throws him off. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a B. This is my favorite fight scene from the sequels. It's not like other fight scenes involving a group of bad guys when they foolishly try to attack one at a time. They actually try to attack all at the same time. And that sort of tag team coordination is really cool, along with the contrasting fight styles of Rey and Kylo. I give it an A. I think a lot of people consider this to be their favorite fight scene from the sequels. And although I like it, well, I already told you what my favorite fight scene is. But I like how it's the ultimate good guy fights bad guy so good guys can get away scene. But this scene wasn't really about the physical fight now, was it? It's a high B.
See them.
This is another one of those scenes that's less about the physical fighting and more about the stuff happening in between the fighting. The mind teleporting is a pretty neat gimmick, but I'll admit I'm a little confused behind the physics of it. Like, if some random dude came into that room, would they just see Rey fighting nothing? Or like an apparition of Kylo? And if those berries are real, and they really did come from nowhere, then does that mean that the Force can basically solve world hunger? So really, it's creating more questions than it's answering. So let's just give it a B.
Who had your parents taken?
Even though I'm a self-proclaimed sequel admirer, I will admit that I remember feeling a little disappointed by this fight. It's crazy how Ben just felt his mother dying only literally to be stabbed in the gut the very next second by his very own lightsaber. It's pretty symbolic when you think about it. Thankfully, Rey comes from a line of Force users that could manipulate the Force to create life and shit. But I'm gonna give it a C. Shout out to Dad Solo.
I am all the Sith.
And I. I'm all the Jedi.
What were people's issues with this? I really want to try to understand that because it's the ultimate good triumph over evil ending. Like, isn't that what Star Wars is all about? It's a solid A. This is the conclusion bit, which indicates that we're about done. Looking at the completed tier list, you could totally tell that I set aside my personal biases. But you also probably noticed that as the list went on, my in-depthness, my efforts of rankings kind of dwindled a bit. And ironically, that's sort of a good analogy for the fight scenes themselves. Not to say that the people involved in making these scenes didn't put in a great deal of effort, but you can't deny that when you saturate the market too much, the magic kind of dissipates. It's tricky because nerds like me, we want new Star Wars stuff. And Disney is more than happy to make it for us so we keep paying for it. But I don't want Star Wars to turn into a cow that's been milked dry. Or whatever those things are that Luke milked on that planet that sounds like a sneeze. So feel free to let me know your thoughts. I know we all got opinions here, so do what you will. But in the meantime, may the 4th be with you. Thank you and take care.